The corridor outside Conference Chamber 7 was cold. The metal walls reflected dim blue light that made everything look sharp and unwelcoming. This was intentional. The Galactic Trade Consortium designed their headquarters to remind visitors that space was harsh and unforgiving. 3 groups of young warriors lounged against the walls. They were not supposed to be there, but nobody had told them to leave. Their elders were inside the conference room, deciding the fate of the newest species to request trading rights. The cubs, as the older generation called them, had decided to wait and see what would happen. Raxith was a Kalthari, barely past his 20th season. His fur was golden brown with black spots, and his ears twitched with every sound in the corridor. He cleaned his claws with careful attention, making sure each one was sharp and visible. His people were hunters, evolved from the great cats of their homeworld. They took pride in their natural weapons. Beside him sat 3 Vrex warriors. They were younger than Raxith, their scales still bright green without the darker colors that came with age. Their eyes were yellow with vertical pupils that could see in almost total darkness. One of them, Salix, kept flicking his tongue out to taste the air. It was a nervous habit he had not yet learned to control. The third group was the strangest. 6 Morthak stood in perfect formation near the door. They did not sit or lean. They simply stood, their insect-like bodies absolutely still except for the occasional twitch of their antennae. The Morthak did not speak as individuals. When one spoke, it spoke for all 6, their voices creating a strange harmony. The others called this one hive mind Zrix. They had been waiting for 3 hours. Raxith yawned, showing all of his impressive teeth. "How long does it take to reject one weak species?" he asked. Salix's tongue flicked out again. "The humans are inside. My clutch father said they are prey animals. Weak bones, no claws, no venom. They should not even be allowed to petition for Tier 3 status. They barely have any fur," Raxith added. "What kind of predator has no fur, no claws?" "They are hairless apes that learn to build ships." Zrix's 6 voices hummed together. "The hive has studied their biology. They have forward-facing eyes. This suggests predator ancestry. But they lack all other predator characteristics. They are a mystery." "No mystery," Salix said, his tail swishing. "They are prey that got lucky." The conversation died as footsteps echoed down the corridor. All of the young warriors turned to look. A single human woman walked toward them. She was alone. This surprised them. Most species sent their delegates in groups, surrounded by guards and advisors. The Kalthari brought at least a dozen warriors to any important meeting. The Vrex traveled in packs. Even the Morthak, who could share thoughts across distances, always had multiple bodies present for security. But this human walked alone. She was not tall by Kalthari standards, and she was not broad by Vrex standards. She wore simple clothes, dark blue and gray, with no armor or weapons visible. Her hair was black with threads of gray pulled back from her face. Her skin was brown, darker than most species they had encountered. She carried a small case in one hand. As she approached, Raxith stood up slowly. He was more than a head taller than her. The Vrex also rose, positioning themselves to block the corridor. They did not move aside. The human stopped a few feet away. She looked at them calmly with her forward-facing eyes. Brown eyes, not yellow or red or silver like proper predators, just brown. "Excuse me," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. "I need to enter the conference room." Raxith tilted his head, studying her. "The elders are in session. Why does prey walk alone? Where are your guards?" "I don't need guards," the human said. Salix laughed, a hissing sound. "You're small. You have no claws." He extended his own claws, each as long as a human finger and curved like knives. "You have no natural weapons. How do you survive?" The human looked at his claws with interest but no fear. "I survive very well, thank you." Raxith leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. He could smell her now. She smelled strange, not like prey. Prey smelled of fear. This one smelled of something else, something he could not identify. "Perhaps you should wait out here with us," he said. "The conference room is for important species. For predators. For those who hunt. I am important," the human said. "And I do need to go inside." "What will you do if we do not move?" Zrix asked in their 6-part harmony. The human smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it was there. "I will ask you politely one more time." Raxith found this amusing. What could she do? She had no claws, no teeth worth mentioning, no size or strength advantage. She was alone and unarmed. He exchanged glances with Salix, who was clearly thinking the same thing. "And if we still do not move?" Raxith asked. The human's smile did not change. "Then I will remember that you are children who do not know better. But I will still go inside because I have work to do." Children. She had called them children. Raxith felt his fur stand up. Salix's tail went rigid. The Morthak's antennae all pointed forward at once. "We are warriors," Raxith growled. "I am sure you are," the human said. Her tone was not mocking. It was simply matter of fact, which somehow made it worse. "And when you are older, you will understand why I do not have time for this game. Now please, I need to go inside." She took a step forward. Raxith did not move. Neither did the others. She would have to go around them or push through them. The human looked at the small gap between Raxith and Salix. It was barely wide enough for her to fit through. She seemed to consider this for a moment. Then she simply walked forward and squeezed through the gap. Her shoulder brushed against Raxith's arm. He felt the warmth of her skin through his fur. She was so close he could have grabbed her easily. But she moved with such confidence, such complete lack of fear, that he found himself frozen. She was through the gap in seconds. She walked to the conference room door and placed her hand on the entry panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Before entering, she turned back to look at them. "I will be back in a few hours, gentlemen. Try not to damage the walls while you wait. They get upset about that." Then she stepped inside, and the door closed behind her. For a long moment, none of the young warriors spoke. Finally, Salix said, "That was strange." "She was not afraid," Raxith said slowly. He was still trying to understand what had just happened. "Prey is always afraid," Salix insisted. "She was not prey," Zrix observed in their 6 voices. "But she has no weapons," Raxith said. "She is small and weak and alone." "Perhaps," Zrix said. "Or perhaps we do not understand what we saw." Raxith settled back against the wall. The others did the same. They had nothing else to do but wait. Salix flicked his tongue out thoughtfully. "She said she would be back in a few hours." "She will come out crying," Raxith predicted. "The elders will tear apart her petition. Humans do not belong among predator species." "How long until she breaks?" Salix asked. Raxith considered. 2 hours. Maybe less." "I say 1 hour," Salix countered. 30 minutes. Zrix's voices harmonized. They settled in to wait, making quiet bets about how quickly the human would emerge in failure. They were certain of the outcome. They had seen prey species before. They always broke under pressure, always, but none of them could forget the human's smile. That small, strange smile that showed no fear at all. The corridor remained cold and dim. The young warriors waited outside the conference room door, confident in their predictions. They had no idea how wrong they were. The conference room was darker than the corridor. Sarah Chen's eyes adjusted quickly as she entered. Humans were good at adapting to different light levels, though most species did not know this. 15 representatives sat in a semicircle facing the entrance. They sat on platforms of different heights and designs, each suited to their species. The room was cold enough that Sarah could see her breath, and the air was thick with scents she recognized from her xenobiology training. These were dominance pheromones, released by predator species to make others uncomfortable. Sarah set her case down on the human delegation table and stood calmly. She had prepared for this. At the center of the semicircle sat Speaker Thex Ral, a Kalthari elder. His fur was dark gray, almost black, with scars across his face that told stories of many battles. His eyes were sharp and yellow, fixed on Sarah with complete focus. To his right sat Commander Savik of the Vrex. She was massive, her scales dark green and red with age. Her claws tapped against the arm of her chair with slow, deliberate rhythm. She was missing one eye, the socket covered with ritual scarring. On the left was high-voice Zizix, speaking for a collective of 40 Morthak bodies. Only 3 were in the room, but Sarah knew the others were watching through their shared consciousness. The Morthak never truly traveled alone. The other 12 representatives were from various predator species across the galaxy. All of them had earned their positions through strength, intelligence, or both. "Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth," Thexral said. His voice was deep and rough. "You come alone. Where is your delegation?" "I am the delegation," Sarah replied. "I speak for Earth. One voice for an entire species?" Savik's tail swished. "How can one voice carry the weight of billions?" The same way one vote can carry the voice of 40 bodies, Sarah said, nodding to Zix. We choose representatives we trust. Zix's antennae twitched. It might have been approval or annoyance. With the Morthek, it was hard to tell. Let us begin, Thexral said. Humanity has petitioned for Tier 3 trading status. This would grant you access to advanced manufacturing rights and open borders for commercial vessels. Currently, you hold Tier 5 status, which limits you to raw material export only. Yes, Sarah said simply. We have reviewed your petition, Savik said. We find it lacking. Humanity has been starfaring for less than 2 generations. You have no established trade routes. You have no reputation in the galactic market. Most importantly, you lack the biological prerequisites. Oh, what prerequisites? Sarah asked, though she knew what was coming. Thexral leaned forward. Humanity is a prey species. You evolved from tree-dwelling fruit eaters. You have no natural weapons. Your reaction time is slow compared to true predators. Your senses are weak. You cannot hunt effectively. The Galactic Trade Consortium was founded by predator species, another representative added. This was Kor, a 4-armed hunter with mandibles that clicked when he spoke. We built civilization by climbing to the top of our food chains. We established dominance through strength. Prey species can participate in trade, but they do not lead it. They do not make decisions. They do not hold Tier 3 status or higher. Sarah nodded slowly as if considering this. I understand. You believe that biological design determines worth. It determines capability, Savik corrected. A species without claws cannot hunt. A species that cannot hunt cannot understand the nature of competition. Trade is simply hunting with rules. May I ask a question? Sarah said. Thexral gestured with one clawed hand. Speak. What makes a predator? The question hung in the air. Several representatives shifted in their seats. That is obvious, Kor said. Strength, speed, natural weapons. The instinct to hunt and kill. Dominance, Savik added. The will to take what you need from those weaker than yourself. The ability to coordinate attacks, Zizix harmonized. Pack tactics and strategic thinking. Sarah listened to each answer. When they finished, she opened her case and pulled out a small holographic projector. May I present evidence? Thexral nodded. You may. Sarah activated the projector. A 3-dimensional image appeared above her table, showing a human running across a dry plain. The human was not particularly fast. The animal he chased was much faster. This is persistence hunting, Sarah said. Humans evolved on Earth, a planet with extreme temperature variations. We developed something unusual among predators. We learned to sweat. The image showed the human continuing to run as the animal stopped, panting heavily. After a few minutes, the animal ran again. The human followed at the same steady pace. Most predators are sprinters, Sarah continued. They chase prey in short bursts. If they fail, they give up and wait for another opportunity. Humans are marathoners. We do not need to be faster than our prey. We simply need to outlast them. The image showed hours passing. The animal grew weaker. The human maintained the same pace, never stopping. Eventually, the animal collapsed from exhaustion. The human approached and killed it quickly. That is not hunting, Kor objected. That is torture. That is efficiency, Sarah replied. We use our bodies as weapons. On Earth, humans regularly run distances of over 40 kilometers for sport. Our prey animals cannot do this. They overheat and collapse. We evolved to be the most efficient endurance predators on our planet. She changed the image. It now showed a group of humans surrounding a large animal. They carried crude spears made of wood and stone. Humans are also pack hunters, Sarah said. We developed complex language to coordinate attacks. We learned to create strategies that account for individual strengths and weaknesses. We hunted animals 10 times our size and weight by working together. Many species hunt in packs, Savik said dismissively. True, Sarah agreed. But how many species domesticated other predators to help them hunt? The image changed again. It showed a human walking beside a wolf. Silence filled the conference room. Humans and wolves formed a partnership over 30,000 years ago, Sarah explained. We did not defeat them. We did not enslave them. We convinced them to hunt with us. We turned apex predators into allies. Over thousands of generations, we shaped them into hundreds of different forms, each designed for a specific purpose. Hunting, guarding, herding, companionship. Today we call them dogs. Impossible, Thexral said, but his voice lacked certainty. Earth has more domesticated species than any other planet in the known galaxy. Sarah continued. We partnered with wolves, horses, cattle, birds of prey, even insects. We did not have claws or venom, so we made allies of those who did. That is adaptation. That is intelligence. That is what predators do to survive. She changed the image again. This time it showed human soldiers in combat. The representatives leaned forward, interested despite themselves. You say we have no natural weapons, Sarah said. You are correct. But we externalized our weapons. We created tools. Spears, arrows, swords, guns. We extended our reach far beyond what claws could achieve. A Kalthari warrior with claws is dangerous within 2 meters. A human with a rifle is dangerous at 2 kilometers. The image showed warfare through different eras. Primitive clubs and stones, bronze swords and chariots, cannons and sailing ships, aircraft and missiles. Finally, it showed human warships in space. We have been perfecting the art of killing for over 10,000 years, Sarah said quietly. Not because we enjoy it, but because we are very, very good at it. Commander Savik's single eye fixed on Sarah. If humans are such effective predators, why do you seem so docile? Why do you smile and speak softly? Why do you come here alone without guards? This was the question Sarah had been waiting for. She smiled, the same small smile she had given the young warriors outside. Because we learned something that your species have not yet fully understood. The most dangerous predators are the ones that do not need to prove it. We have a word for those who understand their own lethality, but choose restraint. We call them civilized. The room was very quiet now. Look at our warships, Sarah said, gesturing to the image. We named them after abstract concepts: hope, mercy, compassion, diplomacy. Does this seem strange to you? Yes, Zizix harmonized. We name our weapons of war after what we want to preserve, Sarah explained. It reminds us what we are fighting for. We built ships capable of destroying planets, and we called them Mercy because we remember that power without purpose is just destruction. She deactivated the hologram and looked at each representative in turn. Humanity is not asking for Tier 3 status because we are weak and need your protection. We are asking because we choose cooperation over conquest. We prefer trade to warfare. We would rather build together than fight for scraps. But make no mistake, her voice grew harder. We are predators. We climbed to the top of one of the most dangerous food chains in the known galaxy. We earned our place, and we will not be dismissed because we choose not to bare our teeth at every opportunity. The silence stretched on. Sarah waited patiently. She had said what needed to be said. Finally, Speaker Thex Rao spoke. We will deliberate on your presentation, Dr. Chen. This is not a simple matter. I understand, Sarah said. Take all the time you need. But before the discussion could begin, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the conference room. Every representative immediately tensed, their predator instincts responding to the alert. A voice came over the station's communication system. Emergency alert. Vortac raiding fleet detected in the carry. The conference room's main display now showed the Carina system. Everyone watched in tense silence as sensor data updated every few seconds. Sarah stood with her arms crossed, her eyes fixed on the screen. The predator representatives leaned forward in their seats, their natural instincts responding to the unfolding crisis. The civilian transport appeared on screen as a green marker. It was a standard cargo and passenger vessel, designed for comfort rather than combat. It carried no weapons beyond basic defense shields. Right now, those shields were failing. Around it, like wolves circling wounded prey, were 6 red markers. Vortac raiders. The Vortac were not part of the Galactic Trade Consortium. They were pirates and scavengers who operated in the border regions where law was difficult to enforce. They attacked weak targets, took what they wanted, and disappeared before military forces could respond. They were predators of the worst kind, ones who only attacked those unable to fight back. Shields at 30%, reported Savik, reading from her personal display. The transport is trying to run, but the Vortac ships are faster. They are herding it away from populated space. Smart, Kor muttered. If they can get the transport into deep space, no one will find the wreckage for months. How many civilians aboard? Sarah asked without taking her eyes from the screen. Thexrel checked. 347. Mixed species. 112 are juveniles. Sarah's jaw tightened slightly. That was the only sign of emotion she showed. 3 blue markers appeared at the edge of the display, moving fast. The human ships, 12 minutes, Savik said. Your ships are fast, Dr. Chen, but the raiders will begin boarding in 8 minutes. Even if your vessels arrive, they are outnumbered 2 to 1. Watch, Sarah said simply. The representatives watched. The human ships did not slow as they approached. Most military protocols called for a cautious approach, assessing the situation before engagement. The human vessels accelerated straight toward the combat zone at speeds that made Savik hiss in surprise. That speed is not possible for ships of that size, she said. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. Your sensors are fine, Sarah replied. We over-engineer everything. Just in case, but in case of what? Zix asked in their harmonized voices. In case we need it. The human ships split up as they approached. Curiosity went high, Discovery went low, and Understanding curved around from the side. They were executing a coordinated maneuver with perfect precision. They are executing a Vrakan Trident formation, Thex Ral said slowly. That is an advanced military tactic. It requires years of training and perfect communication between vessels. All human crews train for combat scenarios, Sarah said. Even civilian crews. Even science vessels. We believe in being prepared. The Vortak raiders noticed the approaching ships. 3 of them broke off from the transport to intercept. They were confident. 3 raiders against 3 small science vessels seemed like an easy fight. They were wrong. The lead Vortak ship fired first, sending plasma bolts toward Curiosity. The human ship did not try to dodge. Instead, its shields flared bright blue and absorbed the impact completely. The bolts dissipated harmlessly. Impossible, Core breathed. Those shields are military grade. Science vessels do not carry military shields, I told you, Sarah said. We over-engineer. Curiosity returned fire, but instead of standard plasma weapons, it fired something different. Thin beams of concentrated energy lanced out, striking the Vortak ship with surgical precision. The beams did not hit the hull. They hit specific systems. The Vortak ship's weapons went dark. Then its shields failed. Then its engines stuttered and died. The entire sequence took 4 seconds. What weapon is that? Savik demanded. Precision laser array, Sarah said. Designed for cutting through asteroid rock and ice. Also very effective at disabling ship systems without destroying the vessel. Discovery and Understanding engaged the other 2 raiders with the same efficiency. Precise strikes, no wasted shots, perfect coordination. Within 30 seconds, all 3 Vortak ships were drifting, completely disabled but intact. The remaining 3 raiders saw what happened and changed tactics. They abandoned the transport and tried to run. They are fleeing, Thexral said. Will your ships pursue? Watch, Sarah said again. The human ships did not chase the fleeing raiders. Instead, they split up again. Curiosity moved to protect the transport, establishing a defensive position between the damaged civilian vessel and any threats. Understanding moved to secure the 3 disabled raider ships. Discovery accelerated past all of them, moving to intercept the fleeing raiders. It was a single ship against 3 enemies. This should have been suicide. But Discovery moved like nothing the representatives had seen before. It juked and weaved through incoming fire with reflexes that seemed impossible for a ship its size. The Vortak raiders fired everything they had. Discovery's shields absorbed most of it, and what got through hit non-critical areas. Then Discovery returned fire. The precision laser array struck all 3 fleeing ships simultaneously. Discovery was firing at 3 different targets, hitting specific systems on each one, while dodging return fire, all at the same time. One ship cannot track 3 separate targets, Core protested. The processing power required is beyond current technology. Human computing systems are very good, Sarah said mildly. We have been developing them for over 2 centuries. We started with simple calculation machines and built from there. Now our ships have artificial intelligence that can process thousands of variables per second. All 3 fleeing raiders went dark within 10 seconds of each other. They tumbled through space, dead in the water. 6 raiders disabled, Savik said, her voice filled with something between respect and disbelief. 0 casualties. 0 destroyed ships. Perfect execution. The transport? Sarah asked. Dexral checked his display. Shields holding at 28%. No boarding occurred. All civilians are safe. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Good. But the operation was not over. On screen, they watched as the human ships moved to the next phase. Understanding deployed smaller craft, boarding shuttles that approached the disabled raider ships. They are boarding the raiders? Zix asked. Why not destroy them? Because destruction is easy, Sarah said. Capture is harder but more useful. Those raiders have information about their organization. They can lead us to their bases. And more importantly, they can face trial for their crimes. The boarding operation was swift and efficient. The human Marines moved through the raider ships with practiced precision. The representatives could see the tactical feeds now, watching as armored human soldiers cleared room after room. The Vortak tried to fight. They were bigger than humans with thick-scaled hides and powerful claws, but the humans moved as units, covering each other, communicating constantly. When a Vortak charged, 3 humans would respond together. Stun weapons fired. The Vortak fell. The humans moved on. They fight like Vrex packs, Savik observed. Perfect coordination, no individual heroics. Each warrior trusts the others completely. We learned pack tactics from wolves, Sarah said. We refined them over 10,000 years of warfare. Human military doctrine is based on a simple principle. No one fights alone, ever. Within 20 minutes, all 6 raider ships were secured. The Vortak crew members were in restraints. The human Marines reported 0 friendly casualties and minimal injury to the prisoners. Minimal injury? Thexral asked. They use stun weapons? Against Vortak pirates? We prefer to take prisoners alive when possible, Sarah explained. Dead enemies cannot provide information. They cannot face justice. They cannot change. Killing is sometimes necessary, but it is never the first choice. The human ships began organizing the prisoners and securing the raider vessels for towing. Curiosity stayed with the damaged transport, using repair drones to stabilize its shields and patch critical systems. A communication came through. It was from the transport's captain, a Kalthari elder. His voice was shaky with relief. This is Captain Emmerichs of the transport Gentle Journey. I request permission to speak with the human commander. Sarah activated her communicator. This is Dr. Sarah Chen representing Earth. The commanders of our vessels are currently occupied with securing the situation. I can relay messages. I wish to thank them, Captain Emmerichs said, and to thank your species. My ship carried my youngest son. He was traveling to his first posting on a colony world. If your ships had not responded, his voice broke. Thank you. Thank you. You are welcome, Captain, Sarah said gently. We are pleased we could help. Your shields should be stable enough to reach the nearest station. Curiosity will escort you there. Acknowledged. And thank you again. The transmission ended. The conference room was silent. The representatives looked at Sarah with new understanding in their eyes. Elder Matriarch Xri, a Kalthari who had been silent throughout the presentation, finally spoke. She was ancient, her fur white with age, her body covered in scars from a lifetime of battles. She held the position of Elder Counselor, advisor to all Kalthari in matters of war and peace. Dr. Chen, she said, her voice soft, but carrying weight. I have lived for 8 decades. I have seen many species and many warriors. I have fought in 12 wars and survived 33. The young warriors had grown restless over the past 4 hours. Raxith had cleaned his claws 3 times. Salix had worn a groove in the floor with his pacing. Even the Morthak had broken their perfect formation, shifting position several times. She has been in there too long, Salix said. His tongue flicked out nervously. Maybe the elders are being kind and explaining things to her slowly, letting her down easy. Or they are tearing apart her arguments piece by piece, Raxith suggested, teaching her why prey does not belong among predators. Zrix's 6 voices hummed in their strange harmony. The Hive wonders why the discussion is taking so long. Usually these petitions are rejected within the first hour. Maybe the human is stubborn, Salix said, refusing to accept reality. Or maybe, a new voice said from nearby, she is too stupid to understand when she has lost. The 3 groups turned to see who had spoken. 4 more young warriors had arrived. These were Tarkesh, heavy assault specialists from a high-gravity world. They were massive, easily twice the size of Raxith, with thick armor-like skin and horns that curved back from their heads. They moved slowly but with undeniable power. The lead Tarkesh, whose name was Morgath, laughed deeply. We heard a human was petitioning today. Humans, can you imagine? Little pink things with soft skin and no natural weapons. My youngest sibling could break one with his bare hands. She went in 4 hours ago, Raxith told him. Morgath's laugh boomed down the corridor. 4 hours. The elders must be having fun making her squirm. I almost wish I could watch. Just as he said this, alert sirens began wailing throughout the station. Red lights flashed. Every warrior immediately went on alert. their predator instincts responding to the danger signal. "What is happening?" Salix asked, his voice tight. They could not access the station's main communications from the corridor, but fragments of information came through on their personal devices. Raiding attack. Civilian transport. Carina system. Raxith's blood went cold. The Carina system. That is where the transport to the colony worlds was heading. "My younger brother is on that transport," Salix said, his scales paling. He was going to his first assignment. Zrix's antennae were all pointing in the same direction, toward the conference room. 3 of this hive's juvenile bodies are aboard that vessel. Even Morgath looked concerned. "My sister's children are traveling to the outer colonies. If that transport is under attack..." They stood in helpless silence. They were warriors, but they were not soldiers yet. They had no ships, no authority to respond. All they could do was wait and hope that someone would save their family members. "The nearest fleet is hours away," Raxith said quietly, checking his device. "The transport will not survive that long." Salix slammed his fist against the wall, leaving a dent in the metal. "I should be there. I should be protecting my brother." "We all should," Raxith agreed. They stood there, young and frustrated and scared, unable to do anything but wait. The elders were in the conference room, no doubt making decisions. But what could anyone do in time? Minutes passed. The alert continued. Then slowly the red lights changed to yellow. The urgent sirens became warning tones. Something was happening. Salix checked his device. "There are ships responding to the attack." 3 vessels. They arrived faster than should be possible. "What ships?" Raxith demanded. "Our fleets are hours away." "They are human ships," Salix said slowly, staring at his screen. "Science vessels, Curiosity, Discovery, Understanding," Morgath snorted. "Science vessels? Against Vortak raiders? The humans are sending their people to die." But Zrix was watching their own device, their 6 voices completely silent. This was unusual. The Morthak always spoke. Silence from them meant something was wrong, or something was very, very interesting. "Watch," Zrix finally said, projecting a small hologram from their device. The young warriors crowded around, watching the tactical display. They saw the transport surrounded by raider ships. They saw the 3 human vessels approaching at impossible speed. "Too fast," Raxith muttered. "That acceleration would crush most crews." They watched as the human ships split up, executing a perfect military maneuver. They watched as the raiders attacked and the human ships responded with precision that none of them had ever seen before. They watched as one by one every single raider ship was disabled without being destroyed. "That is not possible," Morgath whispered. "Science vessels cannot move like that. Cannot fight like that." "They just did," Zrix said simply. The hologram showed human boarding parties securing the raider ships. It showed Curiosity escorting the damaged transport to safety. It showed Discovery and Understanding collecting the disabled raiders for towing. Total time from arrival to mission complete, 32 minutes. 0 friendly casualties. 0 civilian casualties. 6 raiders captured. The young warriors stared at the display in stunned silence. "Humans did that?" Salix said. "The weak, soft prey species." "Apparently," Raxith replied. His mind was racing, trying to reconcile what he had seen with what he believed he knew about humans. The conference room door opened with a soft hiss. They all turned, expecting to see one of the elders emerge. Instead, they saw the human woman, Dr. Sarah Chen. She stepped into the corridor and the door closed behind her. She looked exactly the same as when she had entered 4 hours ago. Her clothes were neat, her hair was still pulled back, her expression was calm. But there was one difference. She was smiling. Not a nervous smile. Not a false smile. A genuine, warm, satisfied smile. The smile of someone who had just had a very good day. The young warriors stared at her, completely confused. She was supposed to come out defeated. She was supposed to be crying or angry or at least disappointed. She was not supposed to be smiling. Raxith opened his mouth to say something, but no words came out. What could he say? Everything he had assumed about this situation had been proven wrong. Sarah walked toward them, still smiling. She was about to pass by when Morgath stepped forward, blocking her path. He loomed over her, more than twice her height and probably 10 times her weight. "Human," he rumbled. "I have questions." Sarah looked up at him without any sign of fear. "I am happy to answer, but I am in a bit of a hurry." "Can it wait?" "No," Morgath said. We watched your ships fight. Science vessels. You said they were science vessels. They are, Sarah confirmed. Science vessels do not fight like warships, Morgath said. Science vessels do not carry military weapons. Science vessels do not execute perfect combat maneuvers. Sarah tilted her head slightly. Who told you that? The question was so simple that it caught Morgath off guard. That is what science vessels are, ships for studying and exploring, not for fighting. Your science vessels, perhaps, Sarah said. Human science vessels are designed differently. We build every ship with the assumption that it might encounter danger. We train every crew with the assumption that they might need to fight. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, but why? Raxith asked, finding his voice. If they are not warships, why give them weapons at all? Sarah looked at him and her smile softened into something more serious. Because space is dangerous. Because there are threats that do not care whether your mission is scientific or military. Because preparation is the difference between coming home and becoming a statistic. She gestured back toward the conference room. Your elders just learned something about humanity. You might as well learn it too. We are not prey. We never were. We evolved on a planet that tried very hard to kill us. We survived by being smarter, tougher, and more adaptable than anything else on our world. We learned to use tools because we had no claws. We learned to work together because we were not strong enough alone. We learned to plan ahead because we were not fast enough to chase down our food. But you have no natural weapons, Salix protested weakly. We made our own, Sarah replied, and we made them better than anything nature could provide. A Kalthari's claws are impressive. A human's rifle is deadly at 1,000 meters. A Vrex's venom is potent. A human's medicine can cure it. A Tarkesh's armor is thick. A human's blade is sharper. Morgath growled low in his throat. You speak of weapons as if you are warriors. But warriors must prove themselves. They must show their strength. I agree, Sarah said. Your human ships just proved themselves. They saved hundreds of lives today, including the lives of your family members. Is that not proof enough? The words hit like a physical blow. Morgath stepped back, his expression changing from aggressive to uncertain. My sister's children were on that transport, he admitted quietly. Then they are safe now, Sarah said gently, thanks to 3 human crews who responded without hesitation when lives were in danger. That is what we do. That is who we are. The conference room door opened again. This time Elder Matriarch Sri emerged. She was ancient and bent, but her eyes were sharp as she surveyed the young warriors crowding the corridor. Ah, she said. I see the cubs are still here. Elder Matriarch, Raxith said quickly, bowing his head in respect. The others did the same. Kusri walked slowly down the corridor, her old bones creaking with each step. She stopped beside Sarah and looked at the young warriors with an expression that was both stern and amused. You have been waiting here for 4 hours, she said, waiting to see how the human's petition would fail, waiting to mock her when she emerged defeated. Is this not true? None of them could meet her eyes. Raxith felt shame burning in as 3 months had passed since the day Sarah Chen walked out of Conference Chamber 7 with a smile on her face. 3 months since humanity joined the Galactic Defense Coalition as a Tier 1 species. 3 months since everything changed. The Galactic Trade Consortium headquarters looked the same as always. Ships came and went from the massive station. Traders haggled over prices. Diplomats attended endless meetings. But beneath the surface, something fundamental had shifted. Humans were everywhere now. Not in overwhelming numbers, but present. Human trade vessels moved through established routes, their crews professional and efficient. Human diplomats attended council sessions, contributing ideas and perspectives that often surprised the older species. Human scientists collaborated with researchers from a dozen different worlds, sharing knowledge freely. And human warships, those vessels with names like Hope and Mercy and Compassion, patrolled the border regions where raiders once operated with impunity. The Vortak raids had dropped by 70% in 3 months. This was not a coincidence. Raxith stood in the observation deck of the consortium headquarters, watching a human vessel dock at one of the commercial ports. It was a cargo ship named Persistence, bringing trade goods from Earth to exchange for Kalthari textiles and Vrex metallurgical equipment. He had grown since that day 3 months ago. Not physically, though his training had made him stronger. He had grown in understanding and wisdom. In humility, still watching the humans? A voice asked behind him. Raxith turned to see Salix approaching. The Vrex had also changed. His scales had darkened slightly with age and experience. More importantly, the arrogant swagger he once carried was gone, replaced by thoughtful confidence. "I am waiting," Raxith said. "The human instructor should arrive on that ship." "Ah, yes," Salix said, joining him at the observation window. "The famous Captain Williams. I heard she commanded one of the ships that rescued the transport. Discovery, was it?" "Yes," Raxith confirmed. "She has agreed to give lectures at the Consortium Military Academy, teaching advanced tactics and ship combat strategies." "Will you attend?" Salix asked. "Yes, you?" "Of course. I am not foolish enough to pass up learning from a warrior who disabled 3 raider ships in under a minute." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the human ship complete its docking procedure. Raxith remembered the first time he saw a human. He remembered thinking she looked weak and helpless. He remembered being so terribly wrong. "Do you ever think about that day?" Raxith asked quietly. "Every day," Salix admitted. "How we stood in that corridor so confident in our superiority. How we tried to intimidate Dr. Chen, how we waited for her to fail. And how she smiled," Raxith added. "That smile," Salix said, shaking his head. "At the time I did not understand it, now I do. She was not smiling because she was happy to be there. She was smiling because she knew what was about to happen. She knew her species would prove themselves. She knew we would learn. She was smiling because she was patient enough to let us figure it out ourselves." "Wisdom," Raxith said. "That is what Elder Matriarch Sri called it. The wisdom to know when to fight and when to wait, when to show strength and when to show mercy." Zrix approached them, their 6 bodies moving in perfect synchronization. The Morthak had requested this form specifically, wanting to experience individual perspectives while maintaining hive connection. It was an unusual choice, but the Morthak had been making many unusual choices lately. "The hive greets you," Zrix said in their harmonized voices. "Greetings, Zrix," Raxith replied. "Are you also here for the human instructor?" "Yes, the hive wishes to learn human coordination techniques. We have perfect communication through our shared consciousness, yet humans achieve similar results through training and trust. This fascinates us. How can individuals who cannot share thoughts work together as perfectly as bodies that share one mind?" "I think that is what we are all here to learn," Salix said. The docking procedure completed. They watched as the cargo ship's airlock connected to the station. Soon crew members would emerge. Among them would be Captain Williams. "I heard something interesting," Salix said, his voice dropping to a more private tone. "About Morgoth." Raxith's ears perked up. "What about him?" "He applied to attend a human military academy on Earth, a place called West Point. He was accepted." "Morgoth?" Raxith was surprised. "The one who mocked humans so loudly?" "The same," Salix confirmed. "Apparently he wrote his application essay about the day he learned that true strength requires wisdom. He wrote about meeting Dr. Chen and learning what it means to be civilized. The Human Admissions Council was impressed." Zrix's antennae twitched. The hive finds this encouraging. Change is difficult for most species. The fact that Morgoth can recognize his mistakes and actively seek to correct them shows growth. "We have all grown," Raxith said softly. "That day changed us. All of us. Not just us," Salix pointed out. "Look at the station. Look at how things have changed." He was right. Raxith had noticed it too. The older generation, the warriors and leaders who had lived their entire lives believing that biological design determined worth, were slowly changing their thinking. It was not easy for them. Old beliefs died hard, but they were trying. The Kalthari military had begun studying human tactics. The Vrex Engineering Corps was collaborating with human shipbuilders. Even the Morthak, who rarely showed interest in other species' methods, had established a cultural exchange program with Earth. And it had all started because one human woman walked into a conference room alone and came out smiling. "There," Zrix said, pointing with one of their bodies. "The human crew is emerging." They watched as figures in dark blue uniforms exited the ship. Humans moved differently than most species. They did not have the flowing grace of the Kalthari or the powerful stride of the Tarkesh. They moved with purpose and efficiency, every motion deliberate and controlled. Captain Williams was easy to identify. She was taller than Dr. Chen, with short red hair and a scar along her jaw. She wore her uniform with pride, and her crew moved around her with obvious respect and trust. Raxith noticed something else. The human crew was mixed. Not just humans, but a Kalthari engineer, 2 Vrek security officers, and a Morthak communications specialist. They worked together seamlessly, speaking to each other with easy familiarity. They integrated other species into their crew, Salix observed. I have never seen that before. Humans do not see species, Zrick said thoughtfully. They see individuals. They judge based on ability and character, not on biological design. This is unusual, but effective. The human crew made their way toward the customs checkpoint. Raxith, Salix, and Zrix left the observation deck to meet them, as was proper for students greeting a visiting instructor. Captain Williams noticed them approaching and smiled. It was a different smile than Dr. Chen's, more direct and less mysterious, but it carried the same warmth. You must be the students I was told about, she said. Her voice had a rough quality, like someone who had given many orders. The ones who want to learn about human combat doctrine. Yes, Captain, Raxith said, bowing his head respectfully. I am Raxith of the Kalthari. This is Salix of the Vreks and Zrix of the Morthak. Good to meet you, Williams said. I am looking forward to working with you. I heard you 3 have been making quite an impression at the Academy. Top marks in tactics and strategy. We are trying to learn, Salix said. We have much to make up for. Williams raised an eyebrow. Make up for? Raxith hesitated, then decided honesty was best. 3 months ago, we stood outside a conference room and tried to intimidate Dr. Chen. We believed humans were weak. We were very wrong. Now we are trying to learn from our mistakes. To his surprise, Williams laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine amusement. Oh, you are those cubs? Sarah told me about you. She found the whole thing quite entertaining. She was not angry? Zrix asked, surprised. Angry? No. She said it reminded her of her own children when they were young, full of confidence but short on experience. William's expression softened. That is the thing about humans. We have been where you are. We have been young and foolish and convinced we knew everything. We made mistakes. Many, many mistakes. Some of them nearly destroyed us. So when we see others making similar mistakes, we do not judge. We remember. She gestured for them to walk with her. Come on, let me tell you about the day we saved that transport. The whole story, not just what you saw on sensors. It will be a good foundation for the lectures I will be giving. As they walked through the station corridors, Williams began her story. She spoke of the moment they received the distress call, how her crew responded without hesitation, even though they knew they might be flying into a fight they could not win, how they trusted their training and each other completely. People think humans are fearless, Williams said. That is not true. We feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is that we learn to act despite our fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to do what must be done even when you are terrified. You were afraid? Raxith asked. He found this hard to believe. Williams seemed absolutely confident. Terrified, Williams admitted. 3 ships against 6 raiders? Those were bad odds. But there were civilians on that transport. Including cubs, Fro.